So, hi everybody, I'm Robin Retallick and you're at the Law of Attraction Club. And Mary Beth and Rachel and Kathy are often help me, support me on these calls. We're all on this together. They're all off gallivanting around today, so I'm the chief cook and bottle washer. And it's good because I get a chance to talk informally before we start here, before I start channeling Tara, about something special that's coming up, which is our 4-week challenge, when we're going to invite our members to pick something that they want to change in their life. We're really getting into the nuts and bolts of it here, and we're offering some processes and some ways of approaching the world. We're inviting them to commit to this month, these 4 weeks, as a process of change. And we're going to engage with each of those members, each of you members, in a way that's positive, collectively and individually. You're going to give us feedback on what's working, what's not working, and really see if we can turn the corner here for you and step you into a new realization of the power that you have to create whatever you want in your life. So that's what's coming up November the 1st. And if you're not a member, we've got a hell of a deal coming up. We are going to be making an offer, so keep an eye out for that in the next couple of weeks here. You won't see an offer like this, I don't think, in any Law of Attraction community anywhere, though search though you may, because we really believe in engaging with you, not just giving you the theory of it all and giving you some pat answers, but having you understand who you are, but beyond that, through to the process of actually doing something about it. And as I said, we'll be engaging collectively and individually. We'll be hand-holding you, getting your feedback, finding out what works for you, what doesn't, and helping you through that door into something new, something spectacular. So let's get into Tara. I'm going to let them through here in a minute. They'll find their way through anyhow. And I just want to say that channeling, which all of you do, so not many of you perhaps do it consciously, but you all do it, and you can all do it easily, consciously, is a fun thing to do. And it's not just a matter of getting answers to questions. It really is a very powerful way of getting in touch with who you are and support. And all of our channels say one thing, is constant throughout this, that when we're doing these things, it's really fun for us to feel the way it feels to be engaged in this way. So, all right, so that's where we are. Let's get into this, and shortly you'll be listening to Tara. Welcome back to our lead up to the 4-week challenge. Over these last few weeks, we've been collaborating with our channels here and cooking up this program that we'll be launching on November 1. It will be 4 weeks of living differently, and you'll be engaging with us as we focus on one particular thing that you want to achieve. This will be nuts and bolts. And yes, of course, we'll still be coming from a place of knowing the absolute truth of who you are and why you're here, and knowing how you create your worlds. Because when you come from that place, you can step in any direction you want to go. But for this month, our particular focus together will be on one end result. This week, this one came across this caption: logic can get you from A to B, imagination can get you anywhere. We say amen. Imagination is the key to everything. Imagination is thought. And to those of you who say you're not good at imagining, we would say, really? Are you good at worrying? And we don't know one of you who would say they never worry. Worry seems to be a natural talent you all have. So what are you doing when you're worrying? You're imagining a particular negative outcome, which does not yet exist, and feeling bad about it. Can you see that when you say you're not good at imagining, what you're really saying is that you've got into the habit of imagining only what seems to be inevitable or probable based on that so-called past of yours. You've got yourself into the rut of facing so-called reality. Well, phooey to that. You're all good at imagining. And this week, we'd like to spend some time getting you off the A to B track and onto the anywhere track. We're going to talk today about freeing your imagination because we want to do some damage to the idea that your past is a fixture. And we're going to take a cue from our session with Rachel this week and give you 2 more techniques for your tool bag. Let's start here. Recently, this one was watching a PBS Nova television program on the origins of man. It was state-of-the-art science derived from fossil records and DNA analysis. It described how humans evolved in Africa, and it charted the complex patterns of migration that ended up with humans all over the world. And as he was watching this, he was thinking how seductive it is to get immersed in that story with all its colourful detail, and how easy it is to forget who's creating all of this and drop into, once again, the habit of accepting the reality of an external physical space-time realm. And when we say accepting, we mean believing in. And when we say you drop into once again, we mean, once again, you're practicing those old reality beliefs. At a dinner party a few weeks back, this one was discussing with his friend Jeff the concept of reality being a moment-by-moment creation, and the past being, therefore, a work of fiction. Jeff responded with, "But I can go down the street to the Anthropology Museum and see the fossils." Well, of course, if you start from the belief that the world is out there and ongoing, then that trip to the museum will reinforce that belief. By law of attraction, everything you encounter can always be seen as in line with and therefore reinforcing your chosen beliefs. Our response to Jeff was, "But of course, what you create moment by moment will always be what you expect. But that doesn't mean you're not creating it on the fly." So think about this question. Where is this past of yours? Can you show it to us? And of course you cannot. You can only describe what you believe it was in some now non-existent moment. If you pick up a fossil, you are in your present. You can tell a story in that present about how and when that animal roamed the earth and how that fossil came to be in that museum. But it is only an idea about, a thought about, something that does not exist. The past only ever exists as the story you choose to tell about it. And then you practice that story, and then you practice that story, and you practice that story until you can no longer see yourself as separate from it. Consciously and subconsciously, you have lined up with it. It defines you. When Kathy sent out the email for this week, we had the following words in it, and we'd like to expand on them in a way we have not done before. We said, only the present is real. Therefore, only the present can create the present. Creation only occurs in the now. Well, that's sort of right, but more fundamentally, only you are real, not the physical you. We mean the consciousness that's you, the always connected extension of Source. To the extent that you've immersed yourself in this game and are creating and experiencing yourself as a time-based entity, and creating that time flows sequentially, then to that extent, you can say that only the present is real, because you're creating that you only exist and you only think in the present. But the more absolute truth is that you are not constrained by continuity and the march of time. Even as a movie may switch suddenly from one scene to another, or switch from present to past and back to present again, so you may switch if you choose. In a time-based virtual reality, it's absolutely true that the past has no power to create in your now world, except to the extent that you choose to believe that it does. And in a time-based reality, it's absolutely true that the present is the now result of what you now believe to be most true for you. And it's absolutely true that if you continue to practice the thought that your present circumstances are defined by your past, then you are limiting your ability to relax into an ongoing and ever-present awareness of the power that you actually have. It's up to you. You make choices and you store them away. Those choices define you and your context, time-based or not time-based. If you make a new choice, and if that new choice is not aligned with your previous choices, then it takes some focus to realign your expectation tapestry with that new choice. That's what these coming 4 weeks are about. A new choice and a new focus, leading to a new alignment, leading to a brave new world. In that world you're in right now, there are, of course, many things that are glorious. It's the world you have slipped into in all its magnificent detail. But there are also things unwanted. Belief choices you made that no longer serve you. Belief choices that may never have served you. Here's an example from Abraham this week that you might relate to. The hypocrisy around the subject of sexuality is huge. Early on, there were others who were a lot more interested in you satisfying what made them feel good than in satisfying what made you feel good. There were so many things where you felt inclined to go this way, but you were forced to go that way, that at an early age, you made a conscious decision that if it felt good, it was wrong, and if it felt wrong, it was probably right. And besides the very obvious and clear example of sexuality, there are, of course, those things you should or should not eat, things you should or should not do, people you should or should not mix with, and so on and so on. Are you getting a sense of how much in that so-called past of yours has locked you into some patterns of belief and expectation that are holding you apart from the things you want, that are holding you back from the full realization of your power? Are you beginning to get a glimpse of the limitless possibilities that lie before you, of the way this world of yours could really be? Are you beginning to see the yellow brick road we're inviting you to step onto in this 4-week challenge? And can you see that what's in your story right now doesn't matter? You can change it. In truth, your past is just as variable as your future. It's simply a matter of what you choose to believe, and practice believing, and practice believing until it lines up with you at all levels as the truth of who you are. As a result of the discussion we had this week, we've constructed some new processes you can try. They're based on techniques suggested by our friend Bentinho. You could think of them as weight reduction techniques for your past. They can help you mentally shrug off some of that old stuff and help you move more into an ongoing awareness of who you are. Take a moment here and try these on for size. Let's call this first one the no past process. 1. Just recognize, acknowledge to yourself for a minute here that you're not a human being. You're a timeless consciousness making up a story about being a human being. A story picked up in that so-called past, recorded as so-called memories in a physical brain that only exists as an artifact in this linear lifetime. Don't confuse yourself with the story. It's just a stage you created to have these experiences. Think about who you are without that story. 2. Now imagine yourself not being able to remember your past and coming into this planetary sphere as if with a flash of lightning. Boom. You just appear here with love, light, presence, recognition, strong in your awareness from spirit realm. And as you look around without any habits or ideas picked up from this world, what do you see? How do you interact? How do you feel? What do you do? Good. Now let's try a variation on that, and let's call it Today is It. 1. Think back to when you woke up this morning, when you began the moment-by-moment creation of your world of today. Now think of today as being the whole of your life. It begins with you waking up. It's going to end when you go back to sleep. Today is it. Today is all there is. 2. Of course, this life of yours has a backstory. So think about that backstory you've chosen to preface this adventure of yours. It's a whole set of assumptions about this world and about you. 3. And now here you are, and away you go on your one-day life. Notice how you feel about this world of yours. What's important? What are your priorities for your life? Where do you want to go? What do you want to do? Four, finally acknowledge to yourself that this way of thinking is perfectly valid, just as valid as thinking of yourself as having a history. What does this tell you about you? What does this teach you about now? Good. So there's a couple of extra processes you can potentially build into your daily routine for the 4-week challenge. Remember, one, they're all guides to imagining new things about you and your worlds, because imagination is the creative thought that leads you to change. And two, although we describe them as discrete tools and specify the sequence, what you'll find is as you make them your own, you can drop into them in any place. You can reorder them. You can mix and match them. You can drop into the mix some of those 10 truths we started with, those 10 truths to remember. 3, in short, as you use them, they just become part of the fabric of who you are. From our friends Abraham today. All the resources you will ever want or need are at your fingertips. All you have to do is identify what you want to do with this, and then practice the feeling place of what it will feel like when that happens. There is nothing you cannot be, do, or have. You are blessed beings. You have come forth into this physical environment to create. There is nothing holding you back other than your own contradictory thought. And your emotion tells you when you're doing that. Life is supposed to be fun. It's supposed to feel good. You are powerful creators and right on schedule. Savor more, fix less, laugh more, cry less, anticipate positively more, anticipate negatively less. Nothing is more important than that you feel good. Just practice that and watch what happens. So, we're really looking forward to some breakthroughs for you. We're starting soon, and we encourage you to get creative about how you're going to take every advantage of this. Remember, 1, pick a thing you want to change, not something too way out, but something in one area of your life you'd like to change. Then tell us about it. 2, commit to an action plan. And of course, we don't mean action in a material sense. We mean action in the thinking sense. Commit to a daily process for the 4 weeks. Then tell us about it. 3, come to these calls. Tell us what's working and what's not working. And together we'll find the absolute best way for you to step into a new version of you. And then, well, the better it gets, the better it gets. Let's have some fun. Let's have an adventure together. Let's dance. And now we move to our extended discussion on our member conference line.